I'm not a politician. People call me their president because I talk about what hurts them. I'm a common man and a ghetto child. That's where I come from.
My father said there's more politics in the music industry than in the parliament here.
He came straight out of Kamocha and brought with him the sounds of the ghetto, a flavor and a style of music that was new to the scene.
He's not a bad man. It's just an image.
He has been dubbed the ladies' wine, with lyrics that have inspired young people living in the ghettos to rise to the occasion.
Young people, enjoy your youth and be happy while you're still young.
I would call Bobi a kind of contemporary philosopher. Most of the songs he does reflect society.
It's from within, from the heart.
Bobi Wine has produced ghetto anthems that have exposed the issues in Kamocha.
I don't know why the corruption is too much. Why the price of electricity too high.
He's a kind of person that has a very serious mentality, but then which is not misplaced, because what he says, it is always justified.
And has gone on to win their confidence in becoming their only voice.
I've spoken confidently and fearlessly about reality.
He's the kind of guy who would stand for what he thinks is true.
Big up to the leaders, them. The bad news is that everything is wrong, but the good news is that you still can fix it. Alright.
With the backing of the people he once shared every little thing with, he has been called a true leader.
I'm a poor people's defender. I'm a common man and a ghetto child.
Their son, the ghetto president.
People call me their president because I talk about what hurts them.
He is the ghetto president and His Excellency has to be respected.
This is Bobi Wine, the story behind the Billboard star.
If you don't show up, nobody gon' see you. If you don't speak up, nobody gon' hear you. Find out yourself, don't let them deceive you. One life you have, don't let them live.
Bobi Wine has been singing all his life and has sung about issues that concern him, to which his fans have been able to identify with.
It was kind of a selfish idea. Let me talk about what hurts me.
A lot of people identifying with Bobi Wine for the same reason, because a true artist does not actually create, but a true artist is a mirror.
Bobi Wine's ghetto story is not a strange one. As a young boy, he had to go to school with no shoes and had to struggle all his life to make ends meet so he could survive along with his other siblings.
I was in a very enterprising community. You know, it was not embarrassing to work.
A former bricklayer, a grasshopper collector, now turned entrepreneur, has embarked on building a state-of-the-art beach on the shores of Lake Victoria.
Bobi is a big dreamer.
Today, he plans to venture into other businesses to support him and his family.
I'm into real estate and hospitality.
And hopes to continue entertaining and serving the community.
I will be this artist that is still singing, entertaining and educating people.
Bobi Wine was born Robert Kyagulanyi Ssentamu on the 12th of February 1992 in Mpigi district, southwest of Kampala. In a family of 10 children, born to Mr. Jackson Wellington Ssentamu and Margaret Nalonkuma.
African leaders abali abamanyi nnyo waliwo Robert Mugabe Museveni era mama namukuma erinnya lya Robert.
His mother worked as a senior midwife at the hospital where he was born. And his father, who was a politician at the time, was in jail.
We were a big, happy, supported family until the politics took away everything.
Robert was born into a musical family whose music was predominantly gospel, and they would sing as a family at home, church, and funerals.
All my big brothers were singers or instrumentalists.
Mu kyalo nakoleyo disco bali bagita Fredo disco dance. Yawe yali ansitulira emizindaalo nga tukola naye ba Bobi abo bonna naye unfortunately bwe nafuna accident nenva ku bidongo.
He's a professional artist now, Eddie Yawe, that's my big brother. And Nyanzi was the best singer in the family choir, only that he branched into politics. Now he's popularly known as Chairman Nyanzi. We would sing every evening before prayers, then pray. We would sing on harvesting times. We would sing when we connect with other families. Their music was just a way of life.
When Robert's mother wasn't working at the hospital, she'd be leading a church choir, something Robert would later in his life learn to emulate from his mother.
Me coming up and having a fresh interest in music was when I was inspired by Pastor Bobi Wine. He was about 9 years. 10 in the early 90s, and he was performing, and he was a superstar, and he was taking attention. And at school I had so much attention that I always wanted to do something different.
The choir that Robert's mother led is known to have been the path to stardom of one of Uganda's legendary artists, the late Bongole Lutaya. Bongole Lutaya and Jimmy Katumba were some of his very early inspirations in his music career.
I appreciated the pop style, and that pop style, made me think independently from the rest.
Robert's childhood was a life characterized by moving from one school to another, something he got used to whenever he didn't pay up his school fees.
I went to 7 primary schools for my primary education. P1, different school, P2, different school, P3.
He would be accepted in every school because of his outstanding grades, something that prompted his older brother Fred to have him sit for his primary 7 exams while he was still a primary 5 student.
I was never ever second in class. I was always the first.
I defeat my enemies lyrically. I defeat my enemies physically. I defeat them musically, financially, and academically.
When rebel leader Yoweri Museveni declared war on Milton Obote's regime in the early 80s, Robert's grandfather, who was the Democratic Party chairperson of Mpigi, was murdered. And about the same period, Robert's father was detained. And his family sought refuge in different parts of the country to avoid any further loss of lives within their family. During these difficult times when the family was on the run, some of the family members would join the struggle to oust Milton Obote's regime. Once settled back home, Robert's mother, Margaret Nalunkuma, made it a point to have all her children attend school, despite her financial constraints.
Our mother was a strong woman.
All of us went through school and through university. Lucky enough, then university was still free.
With life making it almost impossible for Robert's mother to look after her children, she relocated to Kamocha, into a slum just on the outskirts of Kampala, where she lived with all her children in a single room.
It was not very comfortable, I must say. This is a situation where you are 6, 7 years old and you wish you could work and feed your sister or your mother. But to me, it was a lesson that I appreciate so much. I thank God that I went through such, because again now I appreciate the success.
We don't take things for granted. We are so hardworking. We don't give up easily. We don't settle for less. That's how we are trained.
Without his father, Robert grew up in great admiration of his mother.
If you have a mother, hands up for your mother. Alright, sawa kumi na bili buliru na kusewa keda ngo kuntwala kuna sabre school. Na kuda banga ngo tunda buka balagala ne sumbusa kune chokuya.
I've never seen a very hardworking woman like Margaret,
who worked overtime to help keep her family together and happy.
Yalinga mulunzi nnyo. Ate nga yalinanga interest mu kugula ttaka. Ate n'okukungaanya ssente.
Robert's mother stayed here until her untimely death in 1997. Robert was just about to turn 16 years old.
Twali tumanyi nti yasobola okufa because she could work like a machine. Ng'alinnya emmotoka n'abeegombana. Kampala mu kiseera ng'abeera mu kkubo. She died of an accident, a motor accident.
When I lost my mom, I lost my way. My thinking changed, my lyrics changed, my view of the world changed, my directions changed.
Despite going through the hard times without their mother, Robert and his siblings engaged themselves into doing all sorts of odd jobs just to pay their school fees and put food on the table. A painful life which seemed impossible to overcome. With life pushing Robert against the wall, there was a new lease of life when his father, Jackson Wellington Sentamu, was released from prison. A period he would start to cherish, knowing that his father was now weak and of age.
His spirit had been broken. He was scared. He was scared of all risks, you understand? He was still in that colonial mindset where if you're not a doctor or a lawyer or a civil servant, then everything is risky. And here we are, he's confronted with a generation, his next generation, that is uncertain, you understand? That's why he never approved of all this. However, he didn't have the energy to stop it. Since he was living in the village in Gomba, he just let us be and prayed that the best happens to us.
Robert later joined St. Maria Goretti Secondary School and thereafter joined Brain Trust Academy in Rubaga. This is where he came face to face with the reality that having shoes was a way of life and not just a luxury.
You had to put plaster around your toe and explain to the teachers that you cannot wear shoes because you have a wound on your toe. But the real fact is that you did not have the shoes. We jump to the microphone. Some guys booed.
That drama did take a lot of, Kampala's gossip pages.
A bad man, that is true. Idiot, that is true. You want bad man like me, you go back to school. I'm in a
Despite having been a choir leader and the head of the debating club all through his primary education, it took Robert almost 3 years to engage into any activity at school at his senior level, for fear of being unaccepted and rejected by fellow students.
The confidence levels were definitely not the same. They were more informed than I was. They danced the latest strokes while I was still dancing to maybe 5-8 years ago.
Overwhelmed with what he had seen in the city, especially the school kids that had silenced him, Robert would meet his first best friend, Sifayo David, also known as Master Parrot, who rebuilt his confidence and reintroduced him to the school.
Master Parrot was coming from Chivuru, and even worse ghetto than Kamocha. He also had old shoes. He also had a lousy uniform. So somehow, somewhere, we found each other talking. Because he was a town kid, he had more confidence. So he threw a freestyle for me. And I also gave him a freestyle. And he's like, yo! So you could do that every day. I'm like, yeah, but man, I'm so shy to do it.
The boys would try their luck at the Boys with Attitude talent show to showcase their rap abilities.
We jump to the microphone. Some guys booed, of course. Some of them are artists today, and some cheered us. And from that day, the rest is history.
In 1996, in an effort to prove what he was capable of, Robert declared himself as king of raga in Uganda, which was met with resistance with many upcoming artists.
He was just a young boy, just an upcoming, just not agreeing with him.
I am this son of a black woman, me not get a silver spoon, me get a silver bling. I am this, get the people sacrifice, and the get the people push up on one in a day. I am this, youngster me not give fuck, them say big is big, me say big is me. I am this, king of the dancehall vibe, anybody complain, you come face me.
The struggle to impress would later earn him the name Bobi Wine because of the way he enticed young females. With his goal set to impress audiences, the songs that Bobi Wine released had been written to talk about things that didn't reflect his personality.
If you listen back to the songs I sang first, Hot Guys in Town, Woman, Shake Your Body, The Ladies Wine, those were my kinds of lyrics.
This created a void in his life and made him unhappy because of the need to express himself.
When you're beginning to sing, you are a bad boy, I wear the gold and pour the wine and everything. I was ladies' wine until the time came when I'm actually me, myself, and my music started diverting to real things, to things that I think, satisfy me.
Let me renew my promise to you, I promise. I will never be a fool. You will never lose me to fame or lose me to fortune. How could I ever make you cry?
The Promise song came in at a time when we were having some issues.
A lot of people identifying with Bobi Wine for the same reason, because a true artist does not actually create, but a true artist is a mirror. So, when an artist stands, it could be a fine artist, it could be a musician like me or any other, but when he stands, people are supposed to see themselves in that artist or in the expressions of his art.
It was kind of a selfish idea. Let me talk about what hurts me as me. I don't care what everybody feels, but I'll express myself. Only to find that there are very many people that are just like me. There are very many people that when I talk about what hurts me, or what makes me happy, or what I think should be talked about, I find myself representing so many people. Now that is what came of Bobi Wine. Many things kept adding together. Happiness, you find me singing happy song. Highness, you still find me singing weed songs. Fights and everything, then you find me singing hate songs. I'm a fusion of so many things that I also don't know.
It is me, yes, Bad Bobi Wine, the highest top budget gangster. Yes, indeed, I'm Bad Bobi Wine, the multi-million bad man. Listen.
Bobi Wine's musical hustle wasn't any different from most of the artists who started out in the late 90s and early 2000s.
We used to sell some of the things we had. You have your very nice shoe, but because this producer wants a certain amount of money and you can't make it, you sell what you have, you record a song.
The music that they produced wasn't played on radio. Neither was it played in the clubs.
You take it to a radio station and they say they don't play local music. Or you take it to a radio station and they say it's poor quality. Because sometimes it was indeed poor quality, but other times it was the mindset.
Bobi Wine's hustle to get recognition hit rock bottom when the audiences they entertained referred to them as failures in society.
We grew up knowing doctors and lawyers are the rich guys of society. So going to music was giving up. Most of the artists in the generations before us were not as successful. And when it came to our type of music of raga, it meant smoking weed, it meant rolling your hair, it meant running out of control.
And that soon they'd be dying of AIDS.
Nobody wanted their child to end up like Fire Rutaya.
File Bongole Rutaya was on record the first Ugandan artist to have succumbed to the disease. Beaten but not ready to give up, Bobi Wine would now dedicate himself to finishing his education, something he had promised his late mother, the late Margaret Nalunkuma.
I had promised my mother I would study and be a lawyer.
Bobi Wine, who had mastered the art of bricklaying and grasshopper harvesting, worked extremely hard to pay for his tuition and support the rest of his family with the guidance of his brother, Fred Sentam.
I was in a very enterprising community. It was not embarrassing to work at all.
Everybody want to become rich, but nobody ready to work hard for it. All the ghetto youths, them dream of a job where them put on suit and tie and sit in front of a computer.
Ensenene zakola nnyo. Fortunately enough, wetwabeera mama yali yagula ekifo nga bwe zijja okusinga. Gamba bwe twateekangayo ettaala nga tuyoola buyoozi. You can imagine twakeeranga ne million 5 mu kiseera ekyo, million 6 nga season egivaamu ne million 25. Omuntu asobola okugula plot, asobola okusasula semesters 3 e Makerere omulundi gumu.
With the loss of his mother, Bobi Wine lost his focus, and this affected his performance in his final year as a senior.
I did not get law at government sponsorship. I got social sciences, which I studied for 2 years, and I did not see my way there. And my mind kept changing.
With his mother now a distant memory, Bobi Wine embarked on doing things his way without having to please anyone.
Bobi bwe yatuuka e Makerere yakyusa course n'agendamu omudidi nga simanyi.
I did music because now I wanted to own my life. I wanted to do what I want to do.
After 2 years angamba nti chairman, I'm going to graduate. Mugamba no ya myaka 5. No. I didn't take law. Music, dance and drama. I was very surprised. Naye ate awo yali apiikinze nga bulamu bwakola ki bwayagala.
I wanted to enjoy what I do. I wanted to use that to become that artist that I just drew in pictures. I wanted to be a Fire Rutaya who will live and accomplish dreams. I wanted to be a Paulo Cafero who is not going to get drunk. I wanted to be a Fred Sebata who is informed about his history. You understand? I wanted to be a Ragadi or a Shabaranks who will speak to ministers or leaders. So that's where I went to school to kind of polish up what I was already feeling inside.
His childhood friends left him when he got serious with his education at the university.
Abaana bangi bayonooneka bati ekimaking nga natanswaza. Era twagenda ne tukola graduation ne tusanyuka nnyo kubanga mu bayimbi abaaliwo ye yali abasizzaako banne nti aconcentrate nze n'asoma.
After his graduation at Makerere University, Bobi Wine set out to look for a digital recording studio in the heart of Kampala. And his first stop would be at the renowned producer Andrew Chwanuka, who worked in Kasiwukira Studios.
Kasiwukira Studio was very expensive, but I managed to bribe Andrew Chwanuka. When Paulo Cafero was having lunch, I just went in there and did my session. It took me 30 minutes to come up with the instrumental. Came back the following week when Cafero was voicing. It took me another 30 minutes, that lunch break, for me to voice my song. The quality was perfect. Boom! I also managed to do my first song, and that song turned tables. On a very strange night, after hearing his song being played on the radio for the very first time, Bobi Wine had just been released from police cells, where he had been found walking in the night without identification, a charge called idle and disorderly. I just reached, put my little radio and listening to Radio 1, and Allah, what do I hear? At the height of the dance, I did not believe it. I kept quiet. I did not tell anybody because I did not want people to think I was running mad. It happened the second time on another weekend. That time I had the song and so many other guys had the song. It gave me so much energy, so much confidence.
From then on, Bobi Wine tried to get his song played in hangouts, especially those frequented by young people, without any luck. But it was while at DV8, an ever-busy place for young people hanging out, that he caught the eye of Jose Chameleon, who introduced him to the city's biggest DJ at a time, in Club Angenois.
I performed that song, and for the first time, I looked at the kind of fame that I was embracing overnight that I was not ready for. I went back home having very, very many different thoughts, but most importantly, I was scared. My ball had already been set rolling long before I could notice.
Bobi Wine was unsure of how to deal with his newfound fame, but one thing was for sure. Akagoma, his first hit single, was going to make its rounds within the country, and he was going to be a part of this.
That same night in Angenois, 3 radio presenters invited me for interviews. Before you know, they're inviting me to Mbarara for a show. The first time I said, okay, if you want me to come and perform there. You know me, I had an attitude from a long time because I had my money. I would sell my bricks and make my money. So I did not want to know. This time this guy comes and says, Bobi, I want you to come to Mbarara. Told him I want 100,000 and 2 first-class bus tickets. This guy brought the tickets and he said, give me deposit 50,000. I went to Mbarara. You have no idea what I did to those guys. You know, coming to a place and you don't know you're the thing, and you reach and you're the real thing. So it kept on happening like that up to today. Yeah, I'm still trying to learn how to deal with it.
The success of Akagoma would later see Bobi Wine and Chameleon part ways under unknown circumstances.
Chameleon was the biggest artist in the country. His song was Mamma Mia. Mamma Mia was the biggest African smash hit. I came around the same time, you understand? And on the charts there was Chameleon, there was Bebe Cool who had Fitina, there was Mad Tiger, and there was Red Banton. So I was the newest entrant, and I'd come with a very aggressive energy, not just to take over who was at the bottom, but I seemed to want the topmost seat. Yeah, and we had to scramble for it.
Oh my goodness. That drama did quite take a lot of, Kampala's gossip pages. Him feuding with Bebe Cool and then siding with Chameleon, and then him feuding with Chameleon, siding with Bebe Cool, and you just had this whole love triangle of, they're not permanent enemies.
Each of us had an army, all of us had followers, and we didn't know how to deal with it. I would say we didn't know how to deal with the fame. It turned competitive.
He had the conflict with the Chameleon, he has conflicts with Bebe Cool. Now if that conflict goes away, where will be the interest of the supporters? Banabuza ani asinga. Era nze mbasanga bonna ne mbagamba temusuka omwino okola ki okoma mugende mwegeregemu ekisaanidde mukole ebikimu kisaanidde, keep on competing. Abantu mujja kusanga mukyabayina.
Why them think them bad, but me a better than them by far. The boy them think them good, but me a better than them by far. The man them think them
started as a fault, but I won. I beat him. Don't take me serious.
The beef amongst at least these 3 artists, it was all hype. I'll tell you, because when they were with each other talking, it would be different from what you see out on the market, and they would beef, and then the next thing you know, they're with each other on stage.
Singa baite ba competing asikwandi funye nyimba nungi bandi bazenga gayimba nga bakasukayo nga tumalaga buliriza so competition etwetera nafo okufuna product enungi Chameleon bafulumye mwaka guno Bobi Wine afuba nnyo okulaba nga atakula omutoko okufunya the best product so that's promoting the art industry.
But this didn't stop Bobi Wine from going back to the studio, but this time at his brother's own, Dream Studios.
When everybody was going to Kenya to, record an album or something with Ogopas, I think it was one of the first of the big artists to say that, you know what, I'm not going to Kenya.
Coming up.
I'm not a politician.
Ghetto president is not really leader of that bad place out there.
People call me their president because I talk about what hurts them.
While Bobi Wine was at the university, he met his wife, Bobi, in a theatrical play titled, Lady, Will You Marry Me?
I was supposed to act as the president of the Cat Ratland.
Written by Massimirembe Ntagari, a senior lecturer at the university.
He was acting as Mr. Cat and I was acting as Lady Mouse.
Bobi Wine had found the woman of his life in Babi, Itungo.
We were together for 2 months, non-stop, every single day minus a Sunday. So I had the opportunity to keep meeting him on a daily basis.
But he kept it a secret because of his fear of being rejected.
I knew him as an actor. I did not know him as a musician, and he did not even say anything about himself as a musician. He just said, Bobi, I didn't even know there was a wine after the Bobi.
I was always acting and she thought maybe all I did was act and make bricks.
For a little while longer, his secret was safe with him until the night of the annual Club Silk Street Jam. Bobi would let Babi know about his feelings for her.
I kept calling him, where are you? The show is nice, I'm not seeing you. He said, I'm backstage. And I kept asking him, what are you doing backstage? He said, I'm pushing a friend. I'm with a friend here, I'll find you later. And then all of a sudden, the MC at the stage announces, coming on stage is Firebase Crew, and we will have Bobi Wine. I said, group of very many boys. They were all running to stage, and then they had the fire burning, and then they had flags rolling, and they were screaming, they were jumping, and then he came walking without a shirt, like do you know a king that is in control of everything happening? I kept looking, I didn't know what was happening. Everybody was screaming, Bobi Wine! I looked at my auntie, just like I'm looking right now, and then she looked at me, and I whispered, I said, this is not the Bobi I know.
And she's like, so you are the guy who did that song, or you were miming somebody's song? I told her I'm Bobi Wine. She said, you are the Bobi Wine? I said, yes. The one who smokes weed? I said, no. But that, in a way, distanced us for about 3 months.
I told him, you know what? I can't do this. I'm very sorry. The guy I knew is not the guy that you are.
She was disappointed that I was the same guy. She had liked me from a different perspective. I managed to convince her that my intentions were not ill.
And then I said, okay, I'll have to go and look into myself and see if I'll manage this, because I didn't sign up for this.
With her parents' approval of their relationship.
If those were sorted, everything else was not my worry at all.
Bobi and Babi would go on to have 4 beautiful children.
Serious, hard-working man.
It took about 5 years after that before Babi would introduce Bobi Wine to her family, a ceremony that was attended by family and friends.
Bobi was really excited to marry Babi.
Embaga ye yali nungi nnyo twagitegeka.
I know that you would be my baby. Ajira nira wo my lady. Mutandikwa mutima era nemmanya ebizibu byonna ng'obikumira ne mukama n'ayamba kati
It is the most memorable day. I just can't forget any single thing that happened on that day. It was my happiest day. It was the happiest day of my life.
Bobi Wine has provided support in the community, especially people living in the slums of Kampala. And this has positioned him to voice out their problems that have not been attended to by politicians.
In so many ways, I've spoken confidently and fearlessly about reality, about things that affect my people that they have been afraid of speaking out about for so long.
He's the kind of guy who will stand for what he thinks is true. And if he thinks he should stand with the people, if he thinks he should make such a kind of change, he's the kind of guy who will go all the way.
It's not only about changing Kamocha, it's about changing Kamocha, it's about changing Kampala, it's about changing Uganda, and it's about changing Africa.
In a move to urbanize Kampala as a city, Kampala Capital City Authority appointed Iron Lady Jennifer Musisi to clean up the city. Slums were cleared and makeshift homes were destroyed, and the city dwellers were left with no place to go. Bobi Wine would be quick to release a song that voiced the people's plight, which were calmly handled by the authority.
bajjanga surprise ninga matatu naye oluvannyuma nagenda nga nkikutte nga ne Jennifer amuyita ninga this man is an orator. He has taken the message to the people, to the leader, to the technical team KCCA. Era okuva olwo abantu bakendeeza speed gye baali bagiddeko. Jennifer yakendeeza speed, yatandika okukozesa approach eri very technical and ng'ate ekwatagana n'abantu. Kati abantu balina okutegeera nti Bobi is such an important man to the society, a character which we should not fail to exploit and use now when he's still there.
His will is very strong. And like I said before, his mentality is also very strong. He's the kind of guy who is not afraid of standing alone if he thinks he's standing in the right place.
Ladies and gentlemen, whatever you heard in this song are not the views of the artist, the studio, or the producer. These are views of the common people, the poor people, the suffering people, the ghetto people, the angry people. So please act accordingly to avoid another song of the same kind from another artist of the same mind.
Bobi Wine has been constantly rising to the occasion and finding solutions to help people's problems, speaking truth to power, and this has earned him the name the Ghetto President.
That started when I did my song called Ghetto. People started, calling me Ghetto President, and it was fun.
At the end of that song, he ends it by saying, "This is the Ghetto President says so." So when that song became so big, whatever he said at the end of the song, like he was claiming was the Ghetto President.
He had to own a place, and he was not going to own, the high streets of Kampala or stuff. He put his studio in Kamocha. Probably that's where he grew up. That's his hood. And if he does not claim it, who will?
The government knows that I'm not a politician, and I'm not about to start a rebel country. Yeah, but people call me their president because I talk about what hurts them. They understand I'm a poor people's defender. I'm a common man and a ghetto child. That's where I come from. What I saw from there cannot change until we talk about it.
The kind of music he sang was, growing up in hard times and making do with the little you have and, fighting all this oppression from the system and stuff. A lot of people resonate with that. So that was a nice image he chose. And Ghetto President is not really leader of that bad place out there, but it's champion of the masses.
Don't you try to politicize. Don't think me I try to criticize. No, sensitize me, I sensitize. And me know say my people must realize the most important things.
In April of 2017, Bobi Wine decided to run for political office, in which he was up against Sitenda Sebalu, Apollo Kantinti in the Chadondo East constituency by-elections. With a very stiff resistance and having to operate between a rock and a hard place, Bobi Wine won and was sworn into office on the 11th of July in the very same year, much to the joy of his constituents.
I, Chagulanyi Sentamu Robert, swear in the name of the Almighty God that I will give faithful service to this Parliament and support and uphold the Constitution of the Republic of Uganda by law established. So help me God.
We are fighting for freedom.
He later joined Harvard Kennedy School of Government in February 2018 to broaden his knowledge and leadership skills.
We are fighting for freedom.
He found solace in politics and ready to continue where he left off. Bobi Wine joined the campaign trail in Arua by supporting colleagues to win the by-election in August 2018. The events that happened in Arua soon sent shockwaves throughout the world.
Togikwatako constitution togifuula ekyenyinyalwa wofuze bajjajja baffe n'ofuga ne bali abatuzaala n'ofuga ffe abazadde n'oyagala ofuge ne betuzadde bakugamba bopangisa ennyumba n'ogirwamu nti efuuka yiyo.
Today, Bobi Wine continues to serve his people by building schools for the disadvantaged and providing basic needs, especially those without anything.
Bobi Wine has tried to involve himself in many activities of developing the ghetto, developing the poor child.
And he continues to entertain the masses, a thing he doesn't see himself living anytime soon.
Them pretend now. Them bad man hypocrite. Them said them all like you, but them lie you. Managwe ayu kusubira mulirwe kubire simu nzijako. Nakusabe namba ya mazima. Wenondaga ayirunzala wa anyway. Nejifune nambe namba njukubyuma kamulamba. Amasobo buli wengala banzi ya see sunshine. Endowooza bwe kibeera baby nga you are mine. It is me, yes, Bad Bobi Wine, the highest top budget gangster. Yes, indeed, Bad Bobi Wine, the multi-million movies. Amoyoni, nali amachozi. Enzwe, women nali amachozi. Machoni. Ate.
He has ventured into acting, something that he started while at the university. And he has also co-written some of the movies.
Me even wonder why you keep stressing about politics. Politics is always the same. It will never change.
And he hopes to grow in that sector soon.
Why did you lie to us?
I think the time has come for us to demand for what is rightfully ours.
Bobi hopes to accomplish building his dream state-of-the-art beach along the shores of Lake Victoria.
Hopefully in 5 years, Bobi Wine will be a proud owner of a beach resort hotel, and I can sit there and say, yeah, we did it, ghetto youths.
Having lost his father, Mr. Jackson Wellington Sentamu to diabetes in February of 2015, Bobi Wine agrees that he's happy to have had a chance to share beautiful moments with him. And he learned so much from him, something he sang about and has also passed down to his own children. Robert Chagulanyi Sentamu, also known as Bobi Wine, can best be described as a man who feeds on ambition.
Even if another guy came by and tried to own the ghetto, we all know he is the ghetto president.
For some people, music is a form of therapy. It soothes away the pain. And others, it's a source of inspiration, a kind of motivation to greater heights. For this self-made ghetto president, there is more to him than meets the eye.
Bobi Wine for the ghetto youth and mood. Born to be a star, be a star. Born to be a star, be a star. Born to be a star, be a star. Work hard, pray hard, you must reach far. Born to be a star, be a star. Born to be a star, be a star. Born to be a star, be a star. Work hard, pray hard, you must reach far. Sing. Whoa, 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 whoa. Yaga, yaga, yaga. Whoa, 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 whoa. Brother from another mother.